Hey, happy Thursday, everyone. Let's dive in and get started. I'm Adam Ruff, product designer at AngelList, and this is the weekly product design office hours that I'm hosting to help you. If you have questions, I'm here to help. And I hear my volume echoing. Cut that. Awesome. Okay. In the effort of experimentation, I've got a, where is it? Where are my tools? I've got a sketch file here, so I've got a couple things. Show and tell, Q&A, portfolio review, some design surgery tonight. That's what we've got going on. I suppose let's do one other thing here. I don't actually have these things. Numbered. Got them hard coded here. We're gonna do UX design contest number 10. I'm gonna talk about that and get that launched. Nice. Cool. So we'll put that down for now. Maybe we'll pop that up a little bit later. And we'll intro questions before we go into design show and tell. Again, I'll zoom in on this. So it's nice and big. If you want to add your question or upvote a question that someone else asked, I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. And then I'll take a look. Oh, it looks like we're getting caught up with the queue a little bit. It's good. After we go through some design show and tell, I'll pop back in here and knock out a couple of these questions before we start the portfolio review. First, show and tell. So if you caught me on Twitch before, you may have seen that I've been building some Chrome extensions. Oh, I noticed some weird stuff with the lettering. It's bugging me. I'll have to go fix that later. I've been making Chrome extensions here, designing Chrome extensions, coming up with the requirements, playing like designer and PM, hence product designer, and then partnering with a developer to crank them out. My latest one is this quick count. And let's say you have some text here. Let's see. Oops, I forget. I'm just going here. All right, interesting. So the UX design contest number 10 text that I have, it's got 500 words. It's about a 3-minute read. Nice. And if you're doing smaller things, of course, you can type something in here for the best tweet ever, and you can say, cool, I'm under my character count, copy pasta, whatever. That's that. Short and simple. Let's see. I'll put the link in chat in case you want to check it out. If you have any feedback, any ideas for improvement, please let me know. Next, Shopify launched something called Hatchfull, which is pretty interesting. It's a algorithmic logo creation service. Although I ran it a couple times and I never got something quite as interesting as these. But let's kick the tires really quick and I'll give you a little demo to show you what it's about. Click on get started. Let's do one for AngelList. Today we're tasked with creating a new logo for AngelList. So AngelList is, I guess you could call it tech. We'll do that. The visual style of AngelList is definitely reliable. let's say we're going, what are these things? Am I clicking on these things? You can select up to 3. Oh, you have to, oh, that's pretty silly UX. So you have to unselect. You can't just select. All right, let's do that. Reliable, bold, and friendly. Sure, let's see what happens. Then we're gonna type in AngelList, slogan, platform for startups. Where will the logo be used? You pick what you're going to use on. Sure, pick a bunch of stuff. Let's just, I don't know that it does anything different. Let's just pick this online store website. And here's what they came up with. And interestingly, it looks like pretty much every other single logo set that I've seen created with this Hatchfull thing. So it's interesting. I mean, there's some variety, right? But basically it kind of repeats the same thing. So you'll get like this logo every time with your text and stuff there. So rather than inspiration for logos, I think it's interesting in just getting a bunch of different stylistic kind of languages and little patterns that you could use for something else, like in a card, or you're creating an event or something and you want a little bit of style inspiration. This could work well. Because yeah, I see a lot of just repeat stuff. This is kind of interesting. So yeah, you can try it out. Follow the link in chat there, hatchfull.shopify.com. It's super interesting. I think there's a lot of room for optimism in being able to programmatically generate these kinds of assets and things that you want. Like have some machine learn what works, learn what people like, and then generate something that's new from what it's learned. So curious to see how this evolves in the future. That's Hatchfull's logo maker. Thanks, Shopify. Pretty cool. I'm also trying to see, is this, I'm just noticing this blue bar at the top. Is this a scroll thing? Does it keep going? No. It's maybe a progress. Maybe pick one of these things. Aha, and then it moved. And then what is this allowing me to do? Nothing. And then you can go next. And then you can, oh, interesting. Okay, so you can preview it in different places. You can download it and you can download these previews. Got it. Nice. All right, next up. Eva. I'm gonna go with Eva Design System. Saw this in Product Hunt. Been thinking a lot about design systems and am super excited every step our design system makes at AngelList to make it even easier to design stuff. And this looked like a pretty simple one. It's free, you can grab it. So I think what we'll do when we do some design surgery later is look at applying this Eva Design System so we can actually kick the tires on it a little bit. 650 some symbols, some layer styles. I'm also really interested to see how they've set it up, so what it actually looks like in the sketch file, to see if there's any ideas that I want to bubble up and say, hey, this is pretty cool how they did X or Y. So we'll take a look at that a little bit later. Excuse me. Time to hydrate. Alrighty, next, let's head back to questions. And I think I'll do kind of a combination of recent and upvotes. I wish that was a way to do it. Recent and popular. All right, Anonymous asks, hi Adam, do you design analytics? I'm working on it, and depending on user groups, they have different requests. I'm wondering how you deal with it. Do you design analytics? Again, depending on user groups, they have different requests. I'm not sure exactly what this person means. Maybe analytics, like a dashboard, like data visualizations. So I've done some of that in the past. I'd say the most recent and complex thing that I worked on was stats for Twitch creators. Depending on user groups, different requests. It seems like the real question is not around the project, but it's around this designer has different user groups and they have different needs and requests. More about how do you deal with different user groups and different needs and requests. First thing, depending on your project, like have a primary user group, a primary persona, a primary customer segment that you're designing for, right? If you think about at AngelList on the venture team, we have LPs who are limited partners. They're the people coming in, bringing money and saying, hey, I want to invest in deals. We have GPs or general partners. These are the people who are bringing deals onto the platform, who want to invite LPs onto the deal. So we've got a platform dynamic. And so depending on the project or the goal or what we're trying to achieve, it's usually, one of those groups will be the focus or the primary user. So I think figuring out who your primary user is one of the ways to deal with it. After that, let's say you have within a customer segment or big user group, you have maybe subgroups. Running through a quick prioritization process. So whatever the requests are, they request something because they need something. Okay, how does this help them? Is this a big impact? Is it a low effort thing? So identifying those sweet spots where with a small amount of effort, you can have a big amount of impact. Start with those types of things. I don't know how useful that is for this particular question, but hopefully it helps a little bit. All right, some of these are super ambiguous ones. What software and hardware, that's interesting, is good for beginners wanting to do animations? So software that's popular for animations, I don't do a ton of animating, but things like Principle, let's just look at some of these things. Pablo Stanley's got his video even, creating custom animations. Let's grab this link. Put that in chat. So Principle is one that's pretty popular. I rarely do animation stuff outside of CSS. So that might be what I would recommend. If you want to look for examples, go to codepen.io and you're gonna find, I bet if you search animation, you're gonna find a lot of stuff. CSS polyhedral expansion, twisty rainbow, pure CSS 3D, and the frame rate probably stinks on this, but using code is always nice because then you can share that directly with the developer. Say, hey, here's what we want to animate. So those are a couple of things. You can even do simple keyframe animation with Photoshop or similar tools. So look for those raster editing tools. They may have features like Photoshop that allow you to do keyframe animations where you're essentially setting up, the different frames, and then you run through at a certain rate. I know Pablo does that. Pablo Stanley does that quite a bit for a lot of his little sketch animations, which is really cool. 1, 2, oh, we got one that just popped in. Nice. Thank you. I'll refresh it again. Pine, thanks for the question. How can I describe my UX UI design ability on the phone call interview? I think it should be shorter than a real presentation. Maybe focus on the one skill. For phone call interviews, I'm trying to think of the last, it was about 10, 11 months ago, I was doing phone interviews. I think it's less about describing your ability and describing more about the impact that you've had as a UX and UI designer. So remember, people are not hiring you for a skill. Oh, you can do prototyping? Cool. Great. People are companies are hiring UX designers to have specific impact on the product and for customers and for the business. So I would encourage you to do a couple things. And my couple is probably going to turn into 3 or 4. But let's just start off. So number 1, do your due diligence, right? You're having a phone call interview with a recruiter or a hiring manager. Do your research, look at the job post, understand what are the requirements, what impact do they want you to do, or what tasks or responsibilities might you have. And then start to think about your key stories about times when you used those skills and did those tasks to achieve a specific and positive outcome or impact. And then you can start from the impact and the why you worked on a project. And as you're telling that story, you're able to drop in some of those keywords and identify some of those things that you did. I think Pine is correct in talking about how this should really be short. Phone call interviews usually range anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. And yeah, you have a very short amount of time to communicate things. So I say always start with the impact that you're having, because that's really what people are buying, right? They want to buy your time so that you can deliver similar impacts for them that you've delivered in the past, or even better impacts. So hopefully that helps. It's basically, rather than thinking about describing your design ability, talk about the impact that you've had as a designer, and then briefly and concisely talk about the process you use to achieve that impact. And that should give you the opportunity to drop in 2 or 3 of those tasks, responsibilities, skills that the employer is looking for. Awesome. I love that question. This might be something that we should think about doing as like a practice, getting someone on the phone and running through a little interview. All right, we are at 6:21. I want to be careful of the time because I definitely want to show up some of those interesting things. And let me just double check. Sketch. Okay, did show and tell. Strike through. Q&A, we're doing that. We still have portfolio review. I want to talk contest, and we've got this design surgery thing. And this is going to take at least 20 minutes. All right. I think I'll try one more question. Not this one though. What's your design process? This is maybe an interesting question, but it's too vague. And essentially, my design process is whatever works, kind of whatever needs to get done. It depends. The big answer is depends. That's why I'll say in portfolio reviews, when I see someone who talks about who shows this designer process diagram, I always say, for me, this is a flag that this person is very junior, because while there is kind of, an ideal double diamond flow for a design process, you're often coming into projects at different stages of understanding the project, different scopes of projects. Sometimes something's really obvious. Like if you have a little broken window, you don't need to be doing user research to understand why this is a problem. You probably don't even need to be doing any usability testing after. You probably aren't doing a lot of iteration if there's a very clear and straightforward solution for the project. So in general, design process follows understand the problem, understand the user's context and situation, and why something is problematic or why something is missing some functionality or some content that will help them. Come up with some solutions, ideation, right? Maybe it's really straightforward and you just can get something out right away. Maybe you're exploring 3 or 4 different versions, getting some feedback, going back, iterating. It really depends on what the project is. After doing that, it's making sure that, and along the way, communicating, making sure that your team that you're working with is on the same page. When you're talking about things and you're showing examples, everyone's got kind of the same thought bubble above their head. There's alignment, right? Building it, checking to make sure what's built matches the design, is delivering the experience that you're looking for, and then doing any testing to understand the impact, whether that's looking at metrics and changes in behavior, whether that's doing some usability testing and getting some more qualitative feedback, and moving on to the next project. All right, that's gonna be it for right now, unless anyone has any other questions. And by the way, you can always feel welcome to post questions in chat. So this is a great place for anyone to ask questions or to upvote questions that they see. Of course, this is live, so if you have a question, there's something you want to talk about, chat's a perfect place to do that. I don't know where all the regular folks are. I hope everyone's doing okay. Okay. Q&A. Done. Next, portfolio review. So, in case this is new for folks, I do these portfolio reviews. Maybe the easiest way is to head over to my website. I'll post the link in chat. And you'll see this link, get an expert design portfolio review. If you click on that, you're going to get to this type form. You can fill it out. It takes maybe 3 minutes, and then you'll get into the queue. And if you want, you can choose to have me do it live. And that's what our designer, Hansel, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing their name right, but Hansel has requested a portfolio review, and that's what I'm going to do. So, brief process. I'm going to double check to see which pages Hansel wanted me to look at. Looks like a case study, maybe 2 case studies, 2 or 3 case studies. And Hansel is looking for detailed advice about the UX design part after reviewing projects and its process. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this page first. Now let's actually take 1 minute. We'll look at the home page 1 minute before we dive in there. So here we go. Hansel Kim, product designer based in SF Bay Area, who aims to provide pleasant user experiences, and creative visual designs. So we've got the name, got a title. I usually like to see a little bit more stronger secret sauce superpower, but maybe I'll be focusing on the visual design. What is this? How come I can't select any text? Is this an image? What is this? I'm trying to see what this thing is. It's like all this weird stuff going on. I don't know why this is going on. Slide 5. All right. And just kind of scrolling through. Oh, we've got my big pet peeve about hover stuff. I'll just share this because this I think will be valuable with Hansel. The number of projects is great. The visuals, while they don't wow me, they're clean enough. The mix of colors doesn't really give me the sense that there's a cohesive color palette behind the site. But biggest pet peeve is this hover information. So this is a really popular pattern for portfolios, and I really think it should go extinct. The big problem for me is that the hover itself is a problem because I can't see this information until I hover over it. So the website is asking me, hey, remember all this stuff you just saw, and then make a choice. You also lose the context. So 3 seconds ago, I saw this was some sort of mobile app. Now it's not. I have to try to remember what these things are. So I lose that context. In addition to that, in general, brand doesn't tell me enough information. FOCO, Calyx Health, Dreamy, Type Design, these don't mean anything to me. So I don't know which one to pick. So think about talking about the impact or why a project existed rather than the name of what it is. All right. So that's just kind of key fresh eyes feedback. I also don't see any call to action or ability to contact Hansel. So that's something else. Okay, let's go ahead and check out this first case study. This visual looks very kind of clean and polished, cool. When Hansel said something about visual design, I'm getting the vibe like if they were responsible for visual design of this app. It's a fairly clean and modern, friendly design. So, points there. What I'm looking for at the very beginning, I'm looking for things like what's this project all about? So I don't get any of that from just this brand. I'm looking for when did this happen? How long did it take? Why did it happen? Yeah, that's kind of the real big stuff. So intro, how was this project started? The grandmother had been suffering from diabetes. She had a hard time controlling what she eats. So this is a personal project and a personal problem. So this is where the inspiration is, but why did this project exist? So for example, the why could be, oh, there's Hansel and Raj in chat. I see ya. It's a function of a theme I bought. Interesting. Yeah, I think, Hansel, thanks for showing up to check this out live too, by the way. Yeah, a lot of themes have that stuff baked in. So I don't know what the easiest way to address that is based on the theme. But yeah, fixing that is going to help a lot. So grandma has a hard time controlling what she eats. Like, questions I have is, does grandma see that as a problem? Like, grandma doesn't control what she eats. Grandma is the happiest grandma ever. Like, that's a possibility, right? And it's like, okay, what's the problem? So grandma has a hard time controlling what she eats, and she has to like increase her diabetes medicine, or, you know, I don't know. I'm not super familiar. with diabetes, but I can imagine that there's some actual negative impact or problem that's caused because grandma has a hard time controlling what she eats. So this is a great opportunity to practice something like 5 whys and just ask why. Like, you see she's been suffering, like Hansel sees she has, to enunciate, has a hard time controlling what she eats. Why is that a problem? Because blah, 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 blah. Okay, why is that a problem? Because blah, blah, blah. All right, why is that a problem? And you can keep asking why until you really get to the heart of the big problem. Like, this could be something life-threatening, for example. If grandma doesn't start controlling what she eats, she may not live as long as she would like. Yikes, right? So then the why for this project could be, I want to help grandma stick to her diet plan or whatever her meal plan is with 100% success, so she can avoid those negative consequences and live as long and happy a life as she can. So that's kind of the big thing that I'm missing. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and see. Okay. So along with the why, once you're thinking about why, you can start thinking about desired outcomes, right? What change do you want to see in the world? This could be grandma. I don't know I really wish I knew more about this domain so I could sound a little bit more knowledgeable in talking about this. Maybe it's something like, let's say grandma should only be eating 1,500 calories a day. I'll just make this up for purpose of explanation. Desired outcome, grandma consistently eats 1,500 or fewer calories per day. Right? That's a desired outcome of the app. I'm trying to look at other things that are in here. I think the fruits might be sugars, right? Diabetic, something you try to control the amount of sugar that you eat. You want to reduce the amount of sugar. So grandma consumes fewer than 250 grams of sugar per day consistently, like 30 days in a row, something like that. Those could be desired outcomes. And you can also think about the success metrics, right? Success metrics can be that she meets those guidelines, right? After 30 days of using this app, I'm getting into a little bit of a story. That's not a clear success metric. Clear success metrics could be the average number of days per month that a user hits their goals or stays within their guidelines. It could be the average blood glucose level per person per week, something like that. So wanting to see how you're going to measure impact, because that's the really big thing. And I think this is a big thing, not just for Hansel, but really for all of us, is really to ask ourselves, how do we start focusing our portfolios and our case studies around impact? Because that's really what matters. It's not enough to build something that's user-friendly and easy to use and is all these great things if it doesn't have an impact. For example, this could be the most usable, intuitive app for tracking what you're eating and making sure that you're making smart, informed decisions. And if it has zero impact, if it doesn't positively impact people's health, what does it matter that we even did this? So really think about how you start with impact. That's going to show that you are a, impact-focused designer. You're not just designing to create case studies, right? You're not just designing for kicks, but you're designing to solve problems. And solving problems means having an impact and understanding how you can measure that impact. So those are the big things that I would encourage Hansel to start right off the bat. Long problem, diabetic patients can set their meal plans. For this kind of stuff, I always recommend make this short. Like, this can probably be... I'm going to make this one a little bit maybe longer than 20 minutes because it's been a little while since we did this. I'm going to open up Hemingway. I'm popping it up on my other screen and it's going to magically shimmy into view. Woo! So Hemingway Editor is my app that I love to help me make text shorter. Interestingly, let's actually use my, I'm also going to use my quick count and see. Right now it's 73 words, 416 characters. So let's see what we can get it down to real quick, just as an exercise. And let's see, I'll try to, oh cool, I can zoom in. So it's hard to follow. Okay, can set their meal plans, but it's hard to follow. Students, full-time workers, businessmen, these are just people. So we can cut that out. Right? They're supposed to have control over what they're eating, but they may not be able to follow the meal plans every day. They may get unexpected work or a meeting. Cut that. Also, they might not know the specific amount of food to control their diabetes and which food is proper for them. Okay. For diabetic patients, sticking to a meal plan is a big challenge, can be a difficult challenge. And I see I'm already getting things flagged as long. Sticking to a meal plan every day. I don't even think we need to say every day. Like, we eat every day, so it's already assumed. For diabetic patients, sticking to their meal plan can be a difficult challenge. Not knowing the specific amount of food, not knowing which foods or portion sizes to control their diabetes, not knowing which foods to eat. Ugh. It's a little bit of a tongue twister. This is real though. This is how we do it. For diabetic patients, sticking to their meal. Here's another thing. This is a good one about like accessibility or how we talk about people. Rather than saying like handicapped people, we can actually flip it a little bit to be a little bit more positive and talk about people with handicaps. So I'm going to change it to say for, I don't even know if we need to say patients. I'm going to say for people with diabetes. For people with diabetes, sticking to a meal plan can be a difficult challenge. Not knowing which foods to eat to keep their diabetes under control. They need to, I'll zoom out a little bit. They need to understand the effect of the foods they eat. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Maybe I lost a little bit of the meaning. I should paste. Let me paste the. I'll just do a quick check. And this is under the problem. I actually like this because it has problem. It has problem and solution tied together. And let's see how many characters this is. So we went from 73 words, 416 characters to 31. So we cut it about in half. And that seems to fit in with my kind of general rule. Like if you want to improve your text in almost anything, shoot for the goal of reducing the number of characters, cutting it in half. And this is a PDF, so it's, well, wait a minute. It says PDF, but it looks like it's almost code that I can type in here. How can, oh, I can just select the text. So I can't change it in here, but you can imagine what that's doing. So where'd it go? I'm like trying to find, where did it go? There it is. Oh, windows and tabs. Think about how you can make things even easier to scan and shorter. Like even easier would be like this, right? Split it up, chunk it. For people with diabetes, sticking to a meal plan can be a difficult challenge, or can be one of the most difficult challenges. To keep their diabetes under control, they need to, could probably even remove that, make it even shorter. To keep diabetes under control, they need to understand the effects of the foods they eat. Boom. Cool. There's some research. Why is the research done? So this may be, I'm getting a sense like when I see this type of case study, Hatchfull, so one thing that I'm thinking of is, yes, thanks, I got it. It's PDF. PDF allows you to select text, but it's not like, well, sometimes it does, but doesn't allow you, it's not code, so I can't go in and change it. This basic intro to me just says like Hatchfull is a junior designer. Why do I say that? I say that because it seems to be following a very rigid and common kind of template. Like, hey, first start with the logo, then talk a little bit about the background of the project, then talk about the problem, then do some research. When that might not even be needed, right? Because if the whole goal of this is to help grandma, like, what research do you really need to do? You might have some questions for grandma. You might want to observe what grandma's doing. But the concept of like looking in at these competitors and these other things don't really make sense with this context. Now, if you had said something at the beginning that, you know, why you're doing this is to, you know, help millions of people who are suffering from diabetes, then that might be a different story. So it really depends on the context that you're setting to what makes sense. So one thing that I'll always encourage designers, especially junior designers, but all designers, is think about the project and think about the story you're telling. The story you're telling is actually, you know, more important than everything that you did in terms of helping you get a job and go out and do good design work. So there's 1.5 million new people in the US alone are diagnosed with diabetes every year. Like, okay, that seems like a pretty big problem. Like, this might be helping people who have diabetes. Can this go even further and like help people not get diabetes in the first place? That could be cool. So yeah, there's some competitors. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about this research, but it just seems out of place right now. Having personas seems super out of place to me. It's like, I thought this is grandma. were trying to help, and all of a sudden we went from grandma to a 27-year-old graphic designer in San Francisco and a 52-year-old enterpriser, maybe like an entrepreneur. I don't know what that is, but someone who has diabetes. Doesn't matter what job they do, right? That's like this would be like a thing for me. It's like, if you're talking about these personas, like why does it matter what job they do? Why does it matter how old they are? Why are those things important? It's not obvious to me. So when I see things like that, I just think, okay, there's a junior designer. They're following this rigid process. I think the main problem that there is in these things is it can be perceived as like a lack or a missed opportunity to apply more critical thinking skills. I think that's probably the better way of thinking about it or talking about it, because critical thinking skills is really important. And as a designer, as we think about process, picking the things you do and understanding like, hey, does it make sense to do persona work? Is that something we need to do to move this project forward? Yes or no? Make a decision. Okay, if we do need to do persona works, what are they going to be built around? What are the key pieces of information that's going to help us move this project forward in a positive way? User interviews. Again, it's not super clear why we're doing user interviews. So I guess that's another key theme. As you're going through, ask yourself, like, why does this information exist in the case study? Why is this important for my project? And maybe most importantly, why is this important as part of the story for someone to understand the impact achieved through this project and why I did the things I did? So things I love, like if you have user interview scripts and things like that, that's great to actually include these in here. This kind of format makes it fairly easy to scan. I'm going to look at these questions just to give Hansel a little bit of feedback about the quality of the questions themselves. So for example, this one, have you used any kind of sugar trackers to manage your diabetes? So for me, this is a red flag. This says, okay, this is someone who I think has limited experience conducting user research and user interviews because they're asking a yes/no question. So in general, I associate things that can be answered in yes/no as more junior questions because you don't get as much value from them. For example, if I ask you, have you used any kind of sugar trackers to manage your diabetes? You say no. And then I'm like, okay, no, this person didn't use any sugar trackers. So that doesn't really tell me a lot of information. On the flip side, if they say yes, have you used any sugar trackers? Now I need to ask another question. Oh, you have? Which sugar trackers have you used? Right? You could actually start by saying, which of the following sugar trackers have you used? List a few common ones. I'm thinking more of surveys actually. Forget the listing common ones. I gotta remember this is a user interview, but rather get them to tell you stories about things in the past. So tell me how you manage your diabetes. It's much bigger, right? Tell me how you manage your diabetes. Or simply, how do you manage your diabetes? Right? What did you do last month to manage your diabetes? Those kinds of questions where you get people to tell you stories and you learn a lot through those stories. Way more than you're ever going to learn from yes or no questions. Right? Do you check how much sugar you eat in a day? Again, this is yes or no. The other thing about yes/no questions is they're more susceptible to this kind of researcher bias. Most people, when you talk with them, especially if they're strangers, maybe especially if they're strangers, people don't want to hurt strangers' feelings. We want people to like us, and in general, there's not a lot of motivation for someone to say something negative, right? people are also inclined to exaggerate or lie about their behavior, right? So if you say, do you check how much sugar you eat in a day? Maybe someone with diabetes knows that that is an important thing to do. And so they're going to tell you yes, because they don't want you to think poorly of them, even though maybe they don't do that very regularly, right? What is the hardest thing about managing your diabetes? So this one is missing a question mark, but this one is the strongest question here, because it gets someone to tell you a story. So start with those high-level stories. And this is something great about case studies is, let's say this is a project in the past, right? It was from last year sometime. So Hansel can't go back in time and ask different questions, but that's okay. They do have an opportunity. Hansel does have an opportunity to go back and like update this, say like V1, or like add a note here, like, you know, these are the questions I went in with. I quickly learned a few things. I learned that, you know, asking yes/no questions in user interview is not very helpful. In the future, I'm going to do this. Like demonstrating that you're growing or demonstrating that you're learning from things can be a substitute. The next time I do this interview, here's what I would change, and showing that stuff. So you have opportunities to do that kind of stuff, or potentially you can just redo sections. Like ask yourself, do I need to do these? Did I need to do these interviews? Do I need to talk about that? Another theme of keeping with this story, Hansel, is like, what 2 or 3 things do you want people to remember about you from this story and presentation? Is it your user interview skills? If it's not your user interview skills, you might just skip this. You might say, there's no reason to have this. Let's see, what are the summary results? Other things that are missing around user interview context. If you wanted this to be a big focus of this case study and say, oh, I checked out this case study, I'm confident Hansel has strong enough user interview, user research skills. Things that are missing here are the number of participants, like how many people did you interview? How did you choose the people to interview? Where did you interview them? All that kind of context stuff that helps understand this. Was this in person? Was it over the phone? Was it over a video call? Summary of results. Some diabetic patients use apps to keep track of their sugar intakes. Okay, I think I could have guessed that. Some diabetic patients set meal plans, often hard to follow. I'm not trying to be facetious by saying I think I can guess it. I'm saying it to hopefully make it more obvious. Like, did we need to do this user interview? Like, I think if I asked someone about people with diabetes, like if I asked them, hey, how do you think people with diabetes manage their condition? I think people would probably say these kinds of things, even if they don't know. Also be careful about attributing responses from user interviews to large populations. I know it might seem like a small language thing. For me, it's a little bit of a red flag, right? Let's say Hansel talked with 5 people with diabetes. And up above, we know that 1.5 million Americans alone are diagnosed with the disease each year. Are 5 people a good representation of 1.5 million people? Probably not, right? We don't know. These could be like 5 people who are just like super, super different from, you know, the 99.9% of the rest of the population with diabetes. So be really careful, right? Instead of talking about people with diabetes, talk about respondents, right? User interview, interviewees, respondents, participants, those kinds of things, right? Saying that most diabetic patients have a hard time controlling what they eat, we can't say that with much authority when we only talked with 5 people. If we actually have to talk with most people with diabetes in order to make this kind of claim. So it's a small thing, but again, these are all little tiny things I'm trying to highlight that add up. And I think the key thing that in trying to highlight these things is to help junior designers frame themselves and position themselves so that it's not an issue of like, oh, this is a junior designer, like pass, right? Because that's not what we want. We want to say like, hey, this is a designer. Here are some examples of them using their skills to have some impact. Cool. We want similar kinds of impacts at our company. Let's chat with them. And then there's like more interview. Again, why? Like, what do surgeons have to do with people with diabetes? What were they trying to learn here? Is there a situation in which diabetic patients should eat sugar? What are those situations? What do diabetic patients need to manage for their health? Okay. Again, like my question is, do you need to talk with surgeons whose time you can imagine is like super expensive, or can we hop on like Wikipedia or, you know, some health organization in the US to learn these things? These are the types of things that, as I'm reviewing, are a red flag for me. Okay, like here's a number of things that people should do. And again, I feel like really all the way here from this whole project, this could all be wrapped up probably into like one slide, right? It's just one message. It's like, hey, my grandma's dealing with this problem. I want her to be healthy and live a long time. So here's some things I found out. Here are some important things. I spent 30 minutes on the internet and I found all these things that people with diabetes should do as important. And so I'm going to help create a tool that helps grandma do this, do this, do this. Then there's like this visual map. It's like, again, ask the question of why. Like, why is this important? Visual map with data, user activities, pain points, needs, besides doctors, through this process. The results show diabetics will need to know the right amount of food they can eat and will want a simple way to keep track of how many calories and the amount of sugar that they're eating. Great. If you can compress that into something really short and sweet, I think that's going to be even more impactful. Okay, so this app is going to have a few things. You can search for food items, you can get meal plans, and you can access, I don't know how they're going to access their health records. This makes me feel like it's something official that's from a hospital, but maybe it's something different. I don't really understand what these things are. One of the key things, if you've identified these different problems and these different requirements for the app, like map the solutions to the problem, right? Just like I did. Why do I keep minimizing it? Right? Just like I did here. This is the problem. This is a solution, effectively. Think about how you compare those things. So it's super obvious. Like, this is the problem that maps perfectly to search for food items, right? It's difficult to keep track of your food. Boom. Wouldn't it be easy if you could search for food? I think you could, you know, there are other ideas too I start getting. It's like, I've tried using food trackers in the past and I never stick with it for more than like 2 days because I'm searching and searching and I'm wasting all this time. Like, I just want to be able to take a photo and that's it. Just like, cool. If I just had to take a photo of every meal I eat, boom, that would be simple. I won't do much more than that, but I don't have maybe the same level of motivation as someone with diabetes has, right? What's this meal plan about? What's a specific problem, right? That Get Meal Plan solves. What's the specific problem that health records? Like, I don't see anything around measuring sugar, which seem to be keeping track of blood glucose levels important. I know that's like probably the most obvious thing that I know, kind of general knowledge, is like always like pricking your finger and doing these little blood tests, right? That's what people with diabetes do like all the time, or that's my assumption. So I don't see anything around that. So think about how you map those problems to those solutions. That should be really crystal clear, and it will be really helpful to show directly how specific features or products map to address very specific problems. So here's this like random sitemap of this app. There's a navigation bar. Here's what you can do. I guess you're coming from the top, you're signing up, you're giving some, doing some onboarding, entering some information, and then you get to the dashboard, and there's these different things that you can do, and they're all connected. And I like the use of, it's interesting to use color. It'll be even more helpful if you can think of how you differentiate these different groups by something like color plus something else. So is it font weight? Is it little icons? Is it a little label above them that tells what this group is about? So I like the idea of how this map is kind of grouped by color. But again, I don't know really why this is important. Like, why should I know this? If your goal is for this project to be measured on information architecture, then you probably want to be talking quite a bit more about why you're doing this and how it's helping. I also see a lot of other things that I don't really see talked about here, and I don't know why. Then presumably here are some sketches. Again, more context will be helpful. Like, what is this? What is this stuff? I would argue this is probably this is a type of case study. This is also something I associate with junior designers, is these case studies that try to do like everything. They try to be really big. They try to do everything. And really, probably one of these, like helping people find food items so they can track their food. For me, this is probably big enough for a case study on its own. What ends up happening is you've got this big, long thing, but it's very shallow. It's super shallow. It's got a lot of breadth. Got to try to, it's tricky to get my hands. A lot of breadth, but it's super shallow. So I really don't have a good sense of like what's going on, why. I see like really nice kind of fun sketches. Like, look at this half croissant. That's cool. And then there's some like loaf, and then you did this, and then you did this, and then you did this. Right? Some usability testing. Can this person find a food to see if she can eat something or not? Get a meal plan. See some health records. I guess health records is not what I assumed at all. It's just checking your historic data. Showing iterations is great. How do you do that? Just added view more button. Okay, cool. So yeah, I would say even zooming in more can be more helpful. So if you just cut this app, the top of this like phone off, here's V1, here's V2. Show this iteration, view more. What happens when you click view more, blah, blah, blah. So showing iteration is definitely strong. How can you make it even easier that it's like A and B, something's different? These are high fidelity things. I'm like, it still looks very wireframey to me. But this is, again, sign up process. Like, why is there a sign up process? Like, I thought this is for grandma. Right? Some food search stuff. You type in bagel and all these flavors come up. That's interesting. I would expect to see like bagel, the word bagel in the results. Can save. I don't know. Like even see, this can be a whole case study itself. Like, I don't understand. There's this barcode symbol that seems to be interesting. Like, maybe you can scan something, but I'm like, food I eat doesn't really have a barcode. There's this concept of saving or eating. Like, what is that all about? There's so much stuff going on that this case study just can't get into because it's trying to do so much, right? It's trying to do all these other things. Style guide, iconography. I mean, honestly, the thing that I think this case study could be very strong on is visual design. So I think that, to me, that's what's the strongest of this case study. And if I were making this case study, if I did this, if this was my project, I would rip out pretty much everything and talk about applying these different styles. I would put this as like, I am a very strong visual designer who can who has some understanding of like user experience, and I can understand some problems and some requirements for a product. And then really where I add a ton of value is on the visual side. I'm going to help make an app that's potentially complex. I'm going to make it look and feel very simple and clean and beautiful. And that's where I'm going to really add a lot of value when you have me on your team and have me working on projects. Because it's sad because all this stuff is at the end, like the biggest bang. If I was going through and I only have a few minutes, like I might get down to here and say, okay, I get it. I know what I'm going to see for the rest of it. Let me close this and go look at something else. So, and then other things that are just in general that are missing at the end, again, like the impact of this. Yes, maybe this is just a concept piece, but even a concept piece should have some sort of impact. You can always add this after, like think about what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do like food tracking or measuring blood glucose or checking how you're doing, like have those flows, test those flows, record how people are doing, make some improvements, test it again, show that you like improved something, or that something people are rating this as like very easy, right? Start selling it. Take money from people, right? Say, hey, this is not available for sale yet. It'll be soon. Would you like to place a pre-order, right? It's $20 or whatever. Something to show some sort of impact. That's going to be the big thing. Because otherwise, all this, the question above like a good recruiter or a good hiring manager is going to be why, and like, so what? Like, Hansel spent all this time doing all this stuff. What's the impact? Like, did this help one person with diabetes? If the answer is no, then it's kind of like, okay, like there's some interesting work here, but it has zero impact. So think about how to demonstrate some impact, and think about like next steps. Like, hey, with this research, I'm going to start talking with some app developers to try to build this. I'm going to start figuring out how much it would cost. I'm going to start looking for people to fund it, right? Like, it doesn't mean I have to pay out of my pocket. Maybe there are some groups of people with diabetes or organizations that have budgets to be investing in things like this. There's all kinds of like really cool stuff that you could be doing with this. It's just about showing that and adding that to your story. So we're missing again the kind of, what were the results? What did you learn from this project? All right. I took a lot of time on that. I hope that was helpful, Hansel. I don't know if there's other... I'll check out... I know you shared a couple other links. I'll just check them out, and probably my feedback's probably going to be largely the same. Let's see. Oh, and then one big thing too, like escape out of PDFs. Oh, here we go. So here you're starting to put stuff into text. This is great. So in terms of the format, like please take that PDF and get it into this web format. That's going to be important. All right, Dreamy, don't know what it is. helps parents care for baby's sleep position by providing watchful eye via built-in camera. Okay, what problem is it solving? Right, here we go. It will help, right? The idea is it will help prevent sudden infant death syndrome. Cool. Dreamy is an IoT baby crib mobile which will help prevent sudden infant death syndrome, the cause of, X number of unexplained deaths in infants in the US. Boom, you told me exactly why this thing exists. This thing exists to keep babies alive. Keeping people alive in general is a pretty awesome impact to have. So that's a great place to start out. I would just be really bold with that. Like, you can cut, again, like you saw me do, right? I feel like this is more important and valuable than the other thing I'm going to do. So let's just keep rolling with this. If Hansel's happy, right? Dreamy is an IoT mobile crib that can help prevent sudden infant death syndrome. Is help prevent, is it preventing the syndrome? Like, I guess I don't really understand what a syndrome is. And my question is, do we just say like it helps prevent deaths? Helps prevent infant deaths from this thing. Help reduce infant mortality from sudden infant death syndrome. By the way, kudos on saying the word and then putting it in parentheses after. This is pretty amazing and impressive. Like, this is exactly the right way to do it. Sometimes people are introducing acronyms way earlier and you're like, I don't know what that is. But now that we've defined what SIDS stands for, what SIDS stands for, now we can just call it SIDS afterwards. Dreamy is an IoT. I feel like, let me just Google it. IoT. I think this is the common format without periods. So that's a super minor thing. But, whoops, not zero, is an IoT crib mobile. It has a camera or something, right? So it's like a vision. I don't know. There's an IoT crib mobile that can help reduce infant mortality from sudden infant death syndrome. Boom. Bold statement. Okay, and then we're gonna find out like how it happens. A baby's sleep is important when baby sleep is on the stomach. So we don't even need this, right? Baby sleep position important. Don't need it because you're telling us when a baby sleeps on its stomach, the risk of SIDS increases. We already know that from the first part, right? That babies die from this. So don't even need to say that. Chances higher when babies get too hot. When a baby sleeps on its stomach or gets too hot, the risk of SIDS increases. Boom. That's these are like the factors that contribute, and these are the things that are going to happen. So again, you map these things. Baby sleeping on its stomach, problem. Map it to a solution. Baby too hot, problem. Map it to a solution. Super easy, right? This thing is a built-in camera, IoT. It checks babies, so it has a camera. It looks to see, hey, is baby on its stomach? Warning, 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 right? Hey, is baby too hot? And I guess it's not, because it's a visual thing and it's this mobile, right? It's not like a sensor on the baby to actually measure the baby's temperature, but it can measure the ambient temperature of the room, right? Which is definitely an important environmental factor in how warm the baby is, right? Cool. So I think you can map those things really clearly. So do that. That's going to simplify these things even more than this like moving stuff. I wouldn't even have this moving stuff. I would show this right here, that stomach sleeping alert with the baby on its stomach. Boom, static image. Here's the problem. Here's what the app does. What about the temperature one? Show the same thing. Warning, room temperature, like, 85 degrees. Boom. Problem, solution. Done. I can't read any of this stuff. Like, it's too small and it's caught in images. But again, like, why user research? Maybe user research was to determine the feature set, or I don't know. I think one thing that's unclear is like, Hansel, where did you come in on this project? Like, what existed? Like, was there nothing? There was nothing, and then the project was to come up with this idea of this IoT crib mobile, or was it just like working on the app? Like, it's super unclear to me what happened. So maybe I scroll down, like maybe this thing exists and we're working on the app. Yeah, again, just scrolling through here, like for me, the big takeaway, again, I think I saw that there was at least one other person working on this project. So when you talk about other people, one thing that I like to recommend that people do is something like this. Number one, increase this, check for accessibility and font size. Make things big and make things easy to read. And then do things like this. This person can be the, I don't know, I'm going to call them it's going to be the UX designer. And we're going to do the same thing. Come on. Right, I'm just making these up. These might not actually be the titles, right? But splitting these things up is going to help too. Hmm? Oh, I see. Typo. There we go. Like splitting these things up. Okay. Like if you're responsible for visual design, someone else is responsible for something else. That lets me better understand like what you did. I think that's the other key part, is making it very clear what work you did. If that was largely the visual stuff, again, I think the visual stuff looks super strong. Like you're the kind of, if you're responsible for visuals, like you're the kind of designer, I would love to have you work on this next UX design contest, because I think we need more. I want more entries that show off more strong visual design, because historically they've been fairly strong in like the UX side and information architecture and thinking about the problem and coming up with solutions, and they've been a lot weaker on the visual design side. So that's kind of my takeaway. Again, there's a lot of stuff. I think it suffers from similar issues, right? It's way too big, tries to talk about so many things, and it's at such a shallow level. I really have no clue about anything that went on because the case study is only this deep. I don't really get to understand everything. But if this is the kind of stuff that you're working on, again, maybe that's your superpower that you kind of double down on. Hey, I'm a super strong visual designer who has a solid understanding of user experience design, and I can help out and do this user experience stuff. And the biggest thing that I'm going to do is make your stuff look awesome and really friendly. And people are going to say, you know, this is a beautiful app, and you know, you enhance the experience through the aesthetics. That's kind of my big like takeaway from this. And with that said, I think we should give up some claps for Hatchfull. Thank you very much for requesting the portfolio review and for joining us live to check it out as well. Clap, clap. We'll put them in chat too. Where did they go? There they go. All right. Really looking forward to see more stuff from Hatchfull, and let me know if need any more help, and definitely check out some jobs on AngelList. I feel like startups are often looking for someone with like their first product or their second product. They're really looking to make a big splash and do some really cool stuff. And I think your visuals could be a great asset for a startup to have, if that's something you're interested in thinking about. Next, let's just double check. Let's go to Sketch. We did portfolio review. Nice. Knocking through it. And then we're going to talk UX design contest. And if we have time, do a little bit of design surgery. So let's talk about UX design contest 10. And you might be saying, what is UX design contest? This is UX design contest. I'll put a link in chat. This is something I started. Was it just last year? Early last year? I'm gonna like whip down and see. Oh, I didn't put dates. I'd have to go back and check. Anywho, sorry for the dizziness. It is a contest that I started. One of the reasons was I was doing all these portfolio reviews, and I'm like, people need to exercise broader skills. They need to do more practice about presenting their projects, whether that's writing a case study or talking about it as in a portfolio presentation. And that's why I created it. Again, like exercise new skills, learn some new tools, build your portfolio, can make new friends, win cool prizes. That's what it's all about. So for Design Contest 10, let's see, is there a way for me to hide this thing? No one's gonna type that in. It's not live yet. I'm not gonna post this. I don't think I'll post this link yet. I do need to, actually I can once I unlink some things. So Contest 10 is gonna be about dusting off your interactive prototyping skills or having some serious fun with maybe a new tool if you've never used it before. UX Pin. We'll look at this momentarily. Let's slide it on over. Pew. Yeah, I'm not going to read it. I'll just basically talk about it. So the idea behind the next contest is two things, right? It's to really just give people a lot of freedom and autonomy to wow us with an interactive prototype. And really the only requirements are around using UX Pin and having some sort of presentation. So the idea behind this contest is you're going to have these desired outcomes. You're going to get experience using UX Pin, which is a modern popular prototyping tool. Yay, that's good. Yes. 2, you're going to demonstrate your understanding of micro interactions, because these are the types of little interactive elements and experiences you're going to be able to really focus on with this tool. 3, you're going to exercise your visual design skills. You're going to channel your inner hustle and deliver some amazing and beautiful and visually aesthetic prototypes. And last but not least, number 4, you're going to practice your project presentation skills. That's right. You're actually going to talk about your project and present it, because that's a super important skill to practice regularly. And it's not something that you do terribly often in terms of kind of going through a quick end-to-end of your project outside of interviewing, really. We've got prizes. So prizes for this contest, I'm going to do first, second, third place. If we help, so if we get at least 3 entries, there will be 3 winners. And include win some money for your charity, and set up a video call with me to ask me whatever. You don't have to worry about doing anything live. You can ask me to show you something. You can ask me questions, whatever it is. I'm going to show up and say, how can I help? And then it's up to you to use the time however you want. How do you actually enter? You enter, by the way, is this text big enough? I keep forgetting to zoom in. Let me zoom in a little bit more. You're going to use UX Pin to create an interactive prototype, and that includes as many of these as you can. So they're not all you don't have to include every single one of them, but things that would be great to include would be different states. So this could be like a checkbox that is unchecked and you check. Form inputs, right? So have a user type something. You can even store that. So you can have these variables or conditional interactions based on what someone picks, something else happens. You can use variables, you can use expressions, you can use data. There's all these kind of cool stuff. The next week's stream, I'll start exploring some of these features in UX Pin and demonstrate how to use them to do some cool stuff for your interactive prototype. And then you're going to use a tool like Loom or Soapbox. You're going to record a 3-minute presentation. 3 minutes. Super easy. Let me remove this link. I have to create a new form to submit your stuff, but basically you're going to submit links to your UX Pin prototype and presentation video. There's a ton of time to do this. We're sitting here at June 27th, and this is due July 21st. This isn't it's not a huge ask, but it will take some time. This is not like do some little dribble thing in an hour and you're going to win a contest. This is like real skills that we're working with and real projects. So wanted to make sure everyone has plenty of time to really achieve the goal, which is to wow us, right? Wow. It's not just like, oh, nice, an interactive prototype. It's, whoa, look at this interactive prototype. I can't believe this. Like, I can't believe this is not an actual live app. Like, look what you can do. Check this out. That's the outcome you're going for. Rules, pretty simple. Submit your stuff by Sunday, July 21st. You can ask for help or you ask questions in chat during live streams. The project, like, what is it? Can be whatever you want. Here's how it's going to be judged. And I see my table gets kind of cut off and not so nice. I'm going to do a little formatting. Where's the back? Where's, oh, here it is. Here's background. There we go. 30% is just meeting the project requirements. That's pretty easy. It's use UXPin, do as many of these things as you can, and record a 3-minute presentation using these tools. 2 simple requirements. That's 30% right there. Complexity, right? How complex is your interactive prototype? Is it a login form where someone types their name and password and they go somewhere? Not super complex. Wow us. What can you do with all of those features that UXPen offers? Can you go through an entire like app workflow experience? Can someone do their taxes with this interactive prototype? I don't know. Think about how you can add complexity to make something even more awesome. Remember, this is not about making a difficult or overly complicated prototype. It's about how much the prototype can do, right? And what you can do with it, what you could test with it. That's where the complexity comes in. Originality and creativity. Of course, if you're doing something that has been done a million times, yeah, okay. Great. You practice some prototyping skills. You practiced less of the product thinking skills, product design minded skills. So think about what's, if you want to do something that's fairly straightforward at first, think about how can you put a twist on it? What's something creative you can do? Maybe think about a niche audience. That can be an easy way to inject some originality and creativity, is make it laser focused on a very niche audience. And last but not least, of course, visual design. This has been an area that's, I think, hasn't been an important part of previous projects, and I want to start adding it in just for the reason that we saw. Like, we looked at Hatchfull's work, super strong in visual design, like stronger than me, definitely, in that side. So want to be working on exercising that skill as much as possible as well. And let's see, 30, 60, 80, 90. Oh, I see. There's one more. The presentation. I see I have it below. I was like doing this on the BART, like during my commute. And at first I had this bullet list, and then I decided to turn it into a table. So now I don't need that anymore. There will be an extra credit option. So I'm going to tweet and announce about this contest. So if you want some extra credit, like it, retweet it, help spread the word. I'd love to get as many eyes on this as possible so that we can increase the number of entries, and especially increase the number of amazing entries, so that we'll have a lot of fun when we review them and award the winners. Thursday, July 25th, that's in about a month. I'm going to announce the winners. Can't submit your entry yet, haven't made the form. I'm going to be live, just like I am now, for the, not 4th of July. That reminds me, next week in the US is 4th of July holiday for everyone that's celebrating or taking time off in the US. Enjoy yourself, get outside, get some fresh air, get some exercise, be safe, have fun. I'm going to be away for 4th of July, so no stream next week. But we'll come back in on the 11th, and I'm really going to be focused around this contest. I'll do some of the other things, make sure we continue answering questions, and I'm keeping active in chat, but really focusing on highlighting UXPin, highlighting some product design stuff, and highlighting some visual design as well. We've got tools. We've got UXPin. There's a great book. It looks like I haven't linked to it yet. And it looks like, does that blue look different than this blue? Totally does to me. I wonder if it's like is it a visited link thing? Hold on, let me look at this. It's that blue. Okay, second to the bottom. Okay, maybe it's just my monitor. They look like two different shades of blue. Anyways, there's this awesome book that I didn't really write a very awesome description for. Let me get a link to it right now. Amazon Micro Interactions. Dan. If you haven't read this book, this is probably one of the most gifted design books that I give out to people. Is this one right here. It's got to be like, I want to say it's at least 5 years old. Oh yeah, coming up on 6 years old, but man, it's a good one. So let me get this link in. After, let's see, do I link it first? I guess Command K to paste the link. I could have just done the search in that. I totally forgot about that. I love that Google Docs, you can do a search for a link. You don't need to go outside it. Great. Micro interactions. Job of... I want to steal from the description. What does it talk about here? Learn how to design effective. Well, small details. Yeah. Okay. How important small details are. Great job of highlighting the importance of small details and how to design effective micro interactions. Boom. This book by Dan Saffer. And I can get rid of that line. Nice. Loom, soapbox. I need to post some more links here. Okay, cool. We can make this doc live for now. I need an image. To do, add cool image. All right, we'll make this public. Anyone with the link can comment. So comments will be open. Let me get this link. We'll put it in chat. You're the first person. You're even getting notified before the mailing list, which has over 1,000 designers on the mailing list. So I'll get that out and get it announced, and people can start playing around with UX Pin and start thinking about what do they want to do with their interactive prototype. How are they going to wow us? Fantastic. All right, any questions, comments on UX design contest? Was that clear kind of through this intro? What's going on? All right. Then moving along, let's take a quick stab at some design surgery or kind of refactoring UI. Oh, I forgot this one. Hang on, one more show and tell for tonight. There's this hammock that you can use to put like websites and images and things in these different kinds of mockups. I believe it's a little desktop app. And I should see, like, let's see, get it now. Download. Oh, you gotta enter a bunch of stuff. All right. It's free, but you gotta do a little bit of work. Go check it out. Let me know if it's any good. Okay. trying to find where, here it is. So this was an interesting site. I think I found this on Product Hunt. It's about getting user feedback, and I popped up on the site and I'm like, man, this is a perfect site to hire Hansel to rethink this UI and like clean it up visually. It's got a lot of like really funky and weird stuff, and it's super ugly. Yes, yes. So I thought this would be a fun candidate for some design surgery. There we go. We'll get that into Sketch in just a minute here. So we talked about this. We got that done. And now we're doing some design surgery. This is actually probably going to be a lot easier in the browser to do little tweaks like this, but let's start looking at what we've got here. So it's, yeah. All right, screenshot tool had a little bit of an issue there, but basically what have we got here? We've got the value prop. So I'll type this here. Requirement. So one is tell people what they can do here. So you basically get, I haven't actually used it. Should we take a look at it real quick? See what happens. Get listed, define tasks for Hive, receive results in Google Forms, keep it healthy. Only get listed, no actions, $2. Get listed plus 10 users, $25. My homepage. Oh, the name of it. Adam Ruff, product designer. Okay. Do you have any specific requests? Want to get people's first impression and understand what they think my skills are, or why someone would hire me for a project. I'm not actually gonna buy it, but okay, I get what it is. All right. Great. So back to Sketchland. Tell people what they can do here. Invite them to hire. I guess it's kind of hire, right? Invite them to hire people to give feedback on their site. And tell people what they can do here. I guess 2 is really show and tell them how it works. And then invite them to do it. And then can you actually see? Oh, it just goes to their website. It doesn't actually go to... I thought maybe it would show the feedback. What do these things do? Join the Hive. Review requirements. Fill out this form to submit your feedback. Weird. Okay. So that's another requirement though. Solicit feedback from website visitors. Okay. So the first thing I kind of want to do is like totally cut this apart and just think about it. So what is this thing called? I don't even remember the name of it. Hive.userinject.com. What was this called on Product Hunt? Target Hive is what it was called. And where is this page? Look at this page that they're showing. Where is that? See if we can't figure out where it is. Maybe userinject.com. Haha, there it is. Userinject.com. But wait, how is this different than the other thing? So what is it? It's user inject or target hive? Get weekly bests. Your best email? Get weekly best? What the hell is this? This is like a super shady, janky website with some nice polish on it. At least this landing page, right? But then you have weird things like this gradient ran out and it keeps repeating at weird places. All right. So I don't even know what the heck to call this thing. Do we call it target hive or do we call it user inject? Which just sounds weird. Let's call it target hive. And actually I'm gonna use do another screenshot of this because this has some content that we can use. Excuse me. Okay, that'll take a second. All right. Target hive. Yes. I don't know. Sure. The name doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't sound. User inject doesn't sound any better though. So maybe we'll call this something like user hive. User hive, test hive. All right, not gonna spend a ton of time on like branding. Okay, what can you do here? There we go. There's our test hive stuff. And we've got our regular. All right, what can you do here? So you can inexpensive on-demand user testing starting at $25 for 10 participants. All right, that's kind of one thing it is. And then this other thing is like Be a tester. Participantes. Got an E in there. That slipped in. How does it work? I don't really think you need to tell them how it works too much. Basically just give them the form. Invite them to hire people, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Get shares, add your own site. I don't understand. Get listed, so you can get listed. That's just silly. This is feedback from website visitors. Cool. I think this is pretty much it, right? Test Hive, inexpensive, on-demand user testing. Maybe that's one phrase. And then starting at $25 for 10 participants. It's like crazy cheap. Great. So we've got that. And then we really have a form. We have presumably some testimonials. These look ugly as heck. But the sites look okay. Let's grab this image. I'm gonna grab a couple of these nice large images from some of these sites. What was another one? Something that looks legit and not total garbage. This one maybe? Let's see. Yeah, this looks like a legit business. Cool. All right. Ideally, we have one more. Because odd numbers, displaying things in odd numbers is more aesthetically pleasing than even numbers. So maybe this one? Cool. All right, we've got 3 examples here. Let's get an artboard going. After my pinwheel stops spinning. Well, got 5 minutes. All right, see how much we can do in 5 minutes. Let's do this. Come on. You can do it, Sketch. Sketch doesn't like very, very large bitmaps, I found. Sometimes this happens. We're patient. Alright, what's going on? What's going on? Do we kill Sketch and try again? I don't know if this is saved. Alright, we're gonna quit. Try again. Alright, it looks like it saved everything except that last one, so we should have that in clipboard, so we can paste it here. Fantastic. Alright, looks like it's being a little bit nicer this time. Let's create some cards. So let's get a card pattern going. I'm just going to create something super simple. We're going to give it some nice shadows. Yes. 4, 8, 8, 16. 10, 10, 10. We're gonna get some nice rounded corners going. 8. We're going to have very high contrast. And we're going to remove the border. Then we are going to, let's get this wrapped in artboard real quick. And let's use the color that we see there. Cool. All right. Get my spacing, get this thing up. Right, this is a card. This is going to be way smaller than this because we want 3 of them. Cool. Great. It's okay to have them bleeding off, I guess, a little bit. If I want to do that, we'll see. I'm just kind of playing around. All right. We only have 1 minute left. Let's get an image in here. Okay. What is this? 388. We'll make this a mask. And make sure we ignore that one. And we have some text down here. What's this thing called? Footballer. All right. So footballer, it really doesn't need to tell you any information. You just need to be able to like join the hive. It's really like join the hive sounds so ridiculous and doesn't make any sense. That's totally not what I think we should use. Let's make that bold. It's gonna be like take the user test now. So let's see, $25 for 10 participants. Do participants get paid? Take the test now. Maybe we have it as metadata. All right. We're gonna go until I get a phone call from my wife to start dinner. $2. Oh, there it is. We're done. We didn't get too far on this one. Maybe work on this. Come back to it another day. Huge claps and thanks to Hansel and Raj. Thank you very much for showing up and being awesome in chat. Again, reminder, no stream July 4th. Have fun. Be safe. We'll come back on the 11th. Pick up, start doing more design contest number 10. Until then, have fun, drink water, and happy designing.